thanks for the lurk. Appreciate that. Alright, let's take a look. I came here following stories. You begin. You keep your explanation as brief as possible. You have an interest in strange places, and among those who make such things their business, Wyford has a reputation. It could be unearned, you concede, but curiosity is a powerful motivator. All of that is true, of course, but it leaves out several pertinent facts. By the way, I'm exactly like this. I tell the truth, but I never give you, like, everything. I'm, like, always... I always lie with the truth, right? If you can do that. Oriana doesn't look entirely satisfied by the explanation, but she doesn't press you further.
If you're interested in Wyford, there's someone you should meet.
She says. Sorry.
My mistress, Lady Reeves, shall come into town tomorrow. You will dine with her. It is an honor above your station, but you intrigue me. I think you will also intrigue her.
That must be the air, you realize. Oriana stands to leave, but stops before she reaches the door. Then she smiles. Her dark eyes sparkle in the firelight.
Should you manage to keep from drowning yourself, you'll mend soon. At times, this village can be unwelcoming to strangers, but you'll find my approval counts for much.
You can no longer recall why she seems so angelic, but by presence alone you expect people would listen to her. As she slips out the door, you test your limbs and find your strength returning. Not fully, but as much as you would expect after a day of stress, illness, and exertion. The last few hours are foggy, and you're still not sure what occult forces were working against you. But one thing is certain. Something didn't want you to reach Wyford. Then I'm definitely on the right track. Or this will be a challenge, but I believe I'm prepared. I'm beginning to have serious misgivings about this investigation.
I would just like to point out, the entire time we're drowning in the tub, Dev has not come to check on us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, don't you think, like, if we took a rather long bath or didn't, like, check in, because I thought he was supposed to be in the room next door or something. Or, like, if he suddenly heard a woman's voice.
Yeah, would you just dump your buddy full of mud into a couple of inches of water and then fuck
right,
off?
And leave?
Like,
yeah.
It's like... Dev's dead in the other tub or in the sink. No. He's in the sink. That's so good. There's a second cauldron just bubbling and Dev's just hanging out of it. What's the worst we can think of for Dev and his demise? Good times. I'm inclined to do... I'm definitely on the right track.
Yeah, I was thinking number 1 as well.
Let's just go with that. Yeah, so are you thinking maybe he's bewitched by this chick and like he just kind of plumb forgot that he might be dying?
Or maybe he like fell asleep or something. Like I get really strong like witchy vibes from Oriana. So I think like maybe she was like, go to sleep, and then she's like, okay, I'm gonna talk to you because you have witchy vibes, arcane vibes too.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we'll find out. Nothing would try this hard to keep you away without good reason. You were attacked on a road that must see regular travel. You were struck down by occult forces while Dev was left untouched. Something wants to stop you, specifically. And that's a very good sign. Did Kent encounter resistance like this? You can only hope he didn't. He was alone, as far as you know, and you don't care to imagine what would have happened if you'd faced that terrible overwhelmingness without help. Regardless of whether she's a witch, she did save my life. So
right, like I think she's good, and she knows what's going on in the town.
Yeah. Miss Fairfax is fine. Fairfax. Oh, it was a
Fairchild?
Fairchild, yeah. It was like Fairfield or something, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. At long last, you feel well enough to leave the wretched tub. There's a chill in the air when you finally step out. But with the help of a thin towel and a few minutes of fire by the fire, you start to feel genuinely warm. Still clumsy with exhaustion, though. You fumble your way into the night clothes that are laid out for you. Then wait for the proprietress's girl to lead you. That's such a weird word. Proprietress.
It is. I stumbled over it too.
Why is it I feel like that doesn't have to be like, why is it proprietor exclusively a male? That's not a male word. It has nothing to do with gender. Proprietor, somebody who owns a place. Anyway, girl to lead you to your room. Dev is waiting for you inside, ignoring a book that sits in his lap in favor of staring out the window. He looks up when the door opens. There are deep shadows under his eyes. He must be utterly exhausted. When he sees you walking without assistance, he gives you a tired smile. You've recovered. Good. The room is larger than you're accustomed to, but it's far from luxurious. There's a narrow bed piled with what appears to be every spare blanket the inn had available. Dev helps you settle into a well-stuffed armchair, and it's help you sorely need. He's seen to everything. You must have missed tea entirely, but here it is, all laid out. Bread, jam, a little bit of cheese, and sliced sausage, and none of it the least bit stale. Your appetite is meager, but you probably need to eat after everything you've just been through. Dev passes you a plate, looking distinctly uncomfortable. I asked for the adjoining room, but it still isn't ready. I'll wait in the common room, of course, but I thought you might need my help. He trails off unhappily. No tea? He's so fired. That's right! Screw you, Dev! Backhand! He can wait with me until his room is prepared, of course. I don't require anything from him. I prefer he share this room tonight. I'm still a bit shaken.
Number 1.
Think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if we dismiss him, he's just gonna go stand in the hallway, so I don't want to do 2. And number 3, where's he gonna sleep? The floor?
I would probably do 3 if it said something to like, well, I was just attacked. It would be better if both of us were prepared to like defend ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like not specific enough for me where it's like,
I get romancy vibes from it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah. Cap is like, yeah. You can wait with me until his room is prepared, of course. Okay. Do you want to go this?
Sure. He gives you a gracious smile.
As generous as ever, Alexander. Thank you.
The bread is cool, but tastes excellent. All of it is excellent, you soon find out. Dev watches you devour the food with amused patience. Once you've eaten as much as seems polite, you wipe away a few crumbs and look up. May as well take a stab at recovering your manners.
Did you have any trouble with our hosts? Actually, no. The proprietress is a lovely woman. She took charge as soon as she recognized your distress. I worried they might send us away out of fear of disease, but as you can see...
He waves a hand at the cozy room.
These are their best accommodations. Apparently they get a few travelers around this time of year, but we're earlier than most. And before you interrupt, yes, I asked what brings those other travelers, but she spoke in circles until I gave up. You
mumble around another mouthful of bread. Resisting is hopeless. You feel like you've been starved for weeks. Your body aches from hunger, from the echo of that terrible chill, from exhaustion. Dev leans forward to take a better look at you.
Are you well? Truly? I was concerned. You were barely conscious and so cold. I thought you might need a physician. Though I'm not sure I want to consider what might qualify in this place.
He adds with a strained laugh.
To forestall further questions, I reassure him that I'm quite well. It's a relief to be able to confess my troubled thoughts. I don't want his concern, so I brush it off. Oh, I think we're
What are you
bros
thinking?
enough. I think we're bros enough to be able to like just say, yeah, I got fucked up.
I think so too.
It's still like I don't know. It's still the potential in this game for like romance seems pretty high. I think I agree with you. So like even that could be like, I need to tell him everything. Oh my gosh. But I'm going to presume it's not that, or like a more neutral thing. I'm okay with neutral.
I think so too. This one feels more neutral than like, oh, please stay the night.
I want to give all my troubled thoughts. Anyway. You toy with the hem of your sleeve. I think I'm fine, but that was concerning. Never felt quite that thoroughly drained. For a time, I honestly thought I might die. He listens thoughtfully while you relate the rest of the story. As with any investigation, the more information you can give him, the better, although you're not often the subject of your own retellings. He scowls when you mention your near drowning, and carefully notes your description of Oriana. I waited in the common room for a time. I would have noticed if someone like that came through. But if she helped you... He trails off, lost in thought. It's a habit you've learned to live with over the past few years. Back at the office, he'd probably already be digging through his books. Here, at least, he recalls your presence and continues. There was something unearthly at work, clearly, but I've never read about anything like that. There are hexes that could weaken you to the edge of death within a fortnight, but in an evening? Could this woman have been responsible? There's something unusual about her, but I don't think so. Can't rule it out, particularly given how strange our encounter was. No, aside from my delirium, she was probably perfectly normal. I'm thinking 1. I don't think she had anything to do with it.
Yeah, I also think 1. I think that perhaps she recognized that you were afflicted from your encounter earlier and from whatever's trying to keep you out of Wyford, and she helped you.
I mean, the alternative would be like she's got you under some kind of weird mind controller thing and like is watching you drown and kind of half laughing about it, and then says, "Oh, what are you doing drowning in 2 inches of water, you idiot?" Like, knowing that she's causing it. Like, it seems very unlikely, right? So I don't know, like that seems like if she did do that, then that would be like the next level of like horrible evil chick that I don't know. I didn't get that bad. I agree with you. I think she's witchy sort of thing, or like something's like maybe she's like undead for all I know, or like a vampire or whatever. Like she's just talking about her mistress and shit. I'm like, you don't look like a handmaiden, or why would a handmaiden of some mistress of some lady like be in an inn talking to some naked dude in a tub with 2 inches of water drowning him? Like, it's just like, you're sketchy for sure. Anyway, let's do that one. Okay, there was something unusual about her, but I don't think so. There are a few problems with the idea, not at least that you still don't know how anyone could have laid you so low so easily. She was, like, seriously, like, strong. Like, she grabbed the, like, I don't know if you've ever had one of those, like, big cauldrons or whatever, like, boiling water, but that shit's heavy.
Right. They're heavy, yeah.
Yeah. Even, like, a small one is gonna, like, you know, sputter you a little bit. But, anyway. But while Oriana certainly didn't seem ordinary, she also didn't seem malevolent. If anything, she was curious about you. Aware of more than she shared, perhaps you can't bring yourself to believe that she was responsible. No lie, my power just went out for a split second. Reading about Oriana got your power going, did it? That's so funny. Gotta get that. This would be much more fun at like midnight. All right. Let's see. You suggest as much to Dev. He relaxes a fraction. Your instincts are usually excellent, and he's learned to trust them. We should still take care, he says. If you see her again, you'll point her out? You nod. I will, but I doubt I'll need to. Oriana was striking, after all. She would draw Dev's eye as easily as she did yours. If you say so, he says, though he doesn't seem convinced. Indulge me in one more thing, Alexander. Are you certain there's nothing still affecting you? Let us see if I'm afflicted by any spiritual influence, then. This constant concern is grating, and I'm happy to tell him so. I'm too tired to check. I tell him I already did. I'm actually conflicted on this one, so I'm gonna do this one as a vote. But I'm conflicted because the first one, if we do a spiritual check, it might drain me more.
Yeah, it might weaken you again.
You know? So, and it could even, like, open me up to spiritual stuff to attack me, for all I know.
Right, like what if something comes in the middle of the night? Like,
Right.
aha, I found you.
But I don't like lying. And I don't want to be an asshole. Although, he probably would be an asshole if he was that tired. And hangry. I don't know. I'll vote last. I haven't even looked at what you guys are voting.
I'm torn.
I still think if there is something on me, it would be good to check now. I don't know. They could all be good choices, I suppose. I picked one. When it is, alright. There's risks, but better to be safe than sorry, I guess. You raise a hand for him to wait a moment and reach out with your other senses. There is something, a slight echo in the aether around you, but nothing like a charm or a power you've encountered. It doesn't feel evil, particularly, just odd. You also feel the unusually dense pressure of spirits wandering nearby, almost as though they travel together. But any further detail slips from your weary grasp. Dev needs to know about this. I don't feel up to it. Don't feel up to getting into it. So I lie. The spirits are all he needs to know about.
What are you thinking?
I think I don't mind him being like curt. Like, alright, there's ghosts, but whatever. I'm going to bed.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Like, you said it doesn't feel evil, it just feels odd. You're already in an odd town, so maybe that's attributing to it.
Yeah.
There's spirits. Just tell them they're spirits.
If I were to choose this myself, I would still do Dev needs to know about this. Because he seems to be like my research assistant, and the more information he gets, the more he can help.
True.
But because, like, I think realistically, this guy's like probably tired enough to be like, anyway, there's some spirits, I'm going to bed, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll do 3. Strange.
You say?
When I reached out just now, I brushed spirits passing by. Several, and none share that feeling they so often carry. Isolation, I suppose it must be. Dev peers around at the shadows that gather in the corner of the room. For all his time with you, he is still unsettled by the extra layer of reality that makes itself available to you. Are we safe from them? You can't help but give the door a nervous look. With the usual precautions, I imagine we will be. I suppose that will need to be good enough, he says wearily. Leaving you to the last few bites of your repast, he begins to prepare the room for the night, salt across the windowsill and hearth, and that sort of thing. He'll leave the spell work for you. He has yet to master more than the basics. He demurs when you make to prepare his room. It's not as though those spirits would have much interest in me with you around, he points out. It's true enough. Alright. If you want.
Today has been a disaster, but tomorrow's a new day. A solid plan might help start your investigation off well.
Assuming nothing goes catastrophically wrong tonight, where should we begin tomorrow?
You ask. Dev looks back from prying a loose nail above the door.
The usual spots, I should think.
He digs it far enough out to hang a sprig of dried betony from it.
You could ask around in town, see if there are any interesting records to be kept for me to look into, or if anyone knows anything. Or we could find the churchyard and see if there are any leads to be found there.
Asking around may be risky. The more people you meet here, the more difficult your task could become. But recent information won't come any other way. Churchyards can be dangerous too. The spiritual energy is sometimes overwhelming. If you don't end up flooded, you could learn quite a bit, but Dev might be able to learn just as much researching dates and families from the gravestones. Dev will be happy as long as he doesn't need to speak to too many living strangers. Charming as he can be, he's painfully conscious of how much his name and coloring set him apart in the eyes of others.
So we have 4 choices. I'll take the churchyard, Dev can join me. I'll take the churchyard, Dev can go into town. I'm going into town. Dev can visit the churchyard. I'm going to town, Dev can come with me. So my suspicion is that our road companion, Madam or Miss, what's her name? Fairchild, if I remember correctly.
Fairchild, yeah.
Yes. That she was a fairly religious person, and her experiences on the road, which were horrific at best, would suggest to me that she's probably there. She's probably at the churchyard. I would bet money on that one. So the question is, do we seek after her for whatever reason, or expect to go in that area? Or do we want to go asking around in town? Do we split up? I personally dislike the idea of splitting up. So, for what, like, whomever goes where.
I see the benefit of it, but when they said that churchyards can be dangerous, I feel like it's best to stick together, especially in this town too. Like, we already aren't welcome here. We felt that like wall of energy when we got to town. So I think sticking together is a good plan.
Yeah. The side of me that is still the gentlemanly is still thinking like, well, we just let Miss Fairchild just take off by herself, which
we're like, good luck.
Like it's like we just left her to just rot in this town, which we know to be a source of like memories going missing and people going missing, and it's like, I don't know if I personally would do that. Like, maybe you should stick around. Hey, we don't have to like each other, but just FYI kind of thing. So there's a part of me that wants to make sure that she's okay, I guess. And so like the churchyard is kind of where I'm leaning. Town might be helpful there too. But yeah. Cool. All right, I think we're probably both agreed then, and churchyard and Dev can join me.
Yes.
All right, good. Yeah, I don't. The racial thing, you never know in terms of a small town in particular. Like, how many East Indian fellows have they seen, kind of thing, and who knows? A town that's all, rife with mystic terrors. Racism is probably a good place to point fingers and say, "Oh, it's because of that foreigner or whatever."
Yeah, he walked into town, and all our problems started here.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, or maybe they just want a punching bag kind of thing. So.
Right.
I like that one. All right. You lay out a plan that begins with you investigating the churchyard. If I'm cautious, I might be able to make a useful contact or two at the graveyard. Dev rolls his eyes. Morbid humor rarely sits well with him, but your recovery has him in a good mood. Just take care. If I have to deal with any possessions while I'm here, I'd rather they not be yours. He jests, but it is a genuine risk. Ordinary mediums are possessed from time to time. You can protect yourself, but you're also much more open to the aether. You make your suggestion in the same light tone. You can join me. If I suddenly decide to have nothing better to do than to take my vengeance upon some poor villager, knock me over the head. He laughs softly. If you insist, he says with a smile. It would be nice to get some fresh air, and I admit it's unsettling to separate before we've had a chance to discover the powers at play here. With that matter decided, it seems you might finally get some proper rest. You begin the process of securing the room to your own standards, with the charms that will keep you safe from intruders both mundane and otherwise. Dev finishes his own preparations, then warmly wishes you a good night. If you have need for anything, I'll be in the next room. Just knock. He gives you a fond smile before leaving. The doorknob rattles after he shuts the door behind him. He's taking extra care to make sure it's properly closed. This is a side of him you've only seen when you've been injured on the job. In those moments, he's always more nurturing than you'd otherwise expect. You lock the door behind him, ensuring that his care doesn't go to waste. You sleep fitfully, with nightmares waiting whenever you close your eyes. It's enough, though. It will have to be. I guess we could have just gone 3 pages and literally finished off the chapter.